And there we are. So before we get started, sorry, I'm gonna just do this really quick. I want to share, hi Burnett, good to see you. A board that we will be using for our open space. And this is something that I'm going to drop in the chat after we've had our introduction of the speaker here, but I prepared this board ahead of time for us to be able to kind of run our open space, kind of discussing the prompts that we want to go through. So the way that I'd imagine that this could work is that, once we've had the introduction from the speakers, we'll run into the open space format where we can brainstorm some of the prompts, whether it's, what AI can do or can do, what essentially replacing versus non-replacing us as creatives, things like challenging, facing independent work in AI, right? Whatever prompts that are interesting to you all, let's collectively gather them, and then let's vote on the 2 or 3 prompts that you are most interested in, and we can break into our breakout rooms, spend some time discussing those topics, and you can use this FigJam board to note down any thoughts, any findings. Let's come back at the end of that 35 minutes process or so to discuss what we've learned. And the purpose really of the open session, again, is to collectively share our thoughts and learning and have an active discussion around AI and purposeful independent work, right? So hopefully it'll be fun and interactive for us all. And then the part 2 of this, the demo, first will be led by Michael Poso. He'll speak in a little bit on the intro to Midjourney. Essentially, the introduction to the platform, setting up server, some of the prompt structure, right, for the beginners in us all, including myself. And then we'll be very excitingly demoed by Jaina Thompson. She will also be introducing herself. She's recently co-created a project called Sunlink using Midjourney. And so very interesting to see how she's used that platform in creating this project. And then if time permits, here we're at this level or this line, I could pop up ChatGPT and DALL-E or even Design.ai to kind of showcase some of the work that I've been doing on those platforms for my own freelancing work, right? So hopefully it'll be a very fun session. And with that said, I'm going to hand over the mic to one of the speakers to introduce themselves. Michael or Jaina, do you have a preference on who goes first?
Oh, I'll go ahead and go. I'll turn on my video. I need to actually take a couple minutes in a second, but sorry, I am so discombobulated because I'm still waking up a little bit. And there.
Yeah,
there.
we see you. Great.
So I'm Jaina Thompson. I am an AI technologist and a graduate student at North Carolina State University and an affiliate researcher at NYU in the machine language for learning group. I talked to two last week. I must have posted something on LinkedIn, and I'm excited to talk about this project. I was working with a collective called Impress VR over this spring to create a VR. And I'm excited to show y'all how that worked a little bit better.
Sweet. We're excited too. Thank you for being here. Michael?
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Poso. I made through one of the courses that I teach at the Fashion Institute of Technology, which is a certificate in mixed reality using Unity and A-Frame. I'm a web designer by day and a XR technologist by night. Some of the work that I've been doing with AI is just my own inspiration, not really using it at a professional level. but just having fun with it and trying to understand what the technology is. But more specifically, I like to talk to my students of the impact that AI is going to have or is having already in their careers. So I'm happy to be here, and I hope that we can all learn a lot together.
Awesome. Thank you. And hi, my name is Tudo, and I am a designer by trade, freelance designers. I'm part of the Tayloroo Collective, which have a few members of our collectives here. But we're a collective that focus on purpose-driven challenges in the world. So sustainability, education, arts and craft, and health. This area of AI is something that I'm keenly interested in because I think that it personally has the power to augment the kind of work that I do every day. And I'm excited to find out how we can use it for good. So that's a little bit about me and about us. All right, let's get into it. Yeah. So I'm gonna drop a link in the chat. This is a link to FixJam. You shouldn't have to register for an account to get in. So if you want to just click on that link, you should be able to hop in, and I'll be your facilitator for the open space portion. All right, everyone's hopping in. If you have trouble, please poke your head in and say something, right? Cool. Awesome. So I'm gonna share my screen to kind of show you around those of us that may or may not have used it before. I actually know that a few of us are designers, but some of us are actually in the sustainability space and others. I recognize a few names here. So this is FixJam. It's basically a collaboration tool. And what you're seeing here is the board that we've, starting out with. We can move things around and add new components, I guess, is what we would call that. The way that we would be running the session is that we will follow this guideline over here. So if you want to take a look very quickly on how the step will map out. I talked briefly about this at the beginning of the call. So to edit any of these, you can just double click onto a sticker, right? To copy over, you can use the normal copy and paste on keyboard. And if you want to follow me of where I'm going, you can always just click on my name, this Tayloroo logo, this green splash up here, and you will be seeing what I'm seeing. So again, the way that I hope that we would be going through this open session is first of all, want to get everybody to try out this tool, right? If you want to just take one of the sticky note and copy it over and add some note here. Just want to make sure that everybody's at the same proficiency and feeling good about things. Okay, great. Awesome. So first question is, if you want to just start jotting down notes, and please be very messy, is what I'm going to say. First question, how have you been using AI, if any? So just start pulling out, notes and jotting down. We will do this for 3 minutes. I'm going to create some more note for you guys. Just feel free to have some fun. Cool. Awesome. Okay. Creative image making for client, improve business plan. All right, Anna is getting into it. Great. On my personal journey to seek knowledge and develop skills. Forenza, if you can elaborate on that, that would be great. What it means to seek knowledge through AI. Personal coding project, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the field is so new that very few of us have used it for professional work, but that's why we're here, so that we can learn some of the how-to. Natalia is using it for email communication. Great. And biography. Oh, okay, that's great. So you're in the content business. That's great. There's a lot of talk about AI replacing content creator. I think we're along the rails. Yeah, research, Michelle, for sure. Creating photo just for fun. Yeah. How many of us have just gone through and have absurd prompts just to see what comes back? Generative art with Midjourney and Dali, sure, Heather, for sure. Copy, yeah. One of the things that I've been using it to is to like summarize a company mission, right? So I would actually put it in the chat and say, hey, can you summarize this website to help me understand what the company is about? The best book or the whatever subject, yeah. Yeah, playing with image for sure. I've also, this is kind of odd, but I have an Etsy store, not a promotion. So I've been using ChatGPT to write my Etsy description because Anna is using it to improve her business plan. Anna would be great to kind of understand a little bit more about how or which aspect of the business plan you use to AI to improve it for.
You want me to answer now?
Yeah, please.
It was for the so I had to submit an application for a business proposal at like pre-startup phase, and I had kind of mission, vision, and unique USP, like unique selling proposition, but I wanted to improve on them. And also I wanted to see what alternative business models there were for my specific interest business. Okay. So it gave me just because I'm at the beginning of this process, I didn't even understand most of the language of business. So it gave me like 4 or 5 options of different types of business plans for a creative studio. So I then researched it outside of AI. It was just like my first draft of what can be achieved. And then I went and did proper research after that.
That's great. Awesome. Yes, it's quite very good for first draft, and then you have to go back and tweak it a little bit, right? Malak is saying summarizing article. Thank you, Anna. Research paper and long job description. Yeah, for sure. Those job description can go for 2 pages, right? Crazy. And Instagram caption. How have you found, the difference between summarization and content creation, right? Like one is about being concise, and the other one is about, for lack of a better word, like creative content generation. Have you found, Malak, success in both of those areas, or would you prefer one over the other?
I think it's pretty good at like generating stuff, but in terms of summarizing, like a lot of times I go back and read the paper and it like completely eliminated a very important part of it. Maybe that's because I'm like using GPT-3 and not 4, but in terms of generating captions, especially for something like Instagram, you want them to be like creative and, you know, not really normal. And GPT is kind of good at that.
Yeah, for sure. So having to recheck the work a little bit. Generate a fill tool in Photoshop, Natalia. That is something I've heard that Adobe Firefly is starting to be able to do. Wonder if any of you have tried that before. Okay. Oh, not over here. Okay, awesome. Thank you for jotting down some of these notes. So it's great to know kind of where everybody's been experimenting. Yeah, Natalia is saying that it's Photoshop beta on Adobe CC. Great. Yeah. So what I would love to kind of move us to the next portion is that now that we have an understanding of where everybody's coming from a little bit and some of the things that you've been trying. For me, at least, there are a lot of open questions when it comes to AI and how it relates or can affect our way of working. And for the sake of this conversation, you know, it doesn't have to be only freelance work for money, right? It can be your independent project or your learning journey, your personal endeavors. So what I would love to get some of your thoughts, and this is something that if you feel comfortable saying out loud to the group or put it in the chat, what are some of the open questions that you have on your mind that would benefit from this collective mindset? An example that I have is the idea or the question of what can't or cannot, right? What AI cannot do in reference to my work. So just want to open up the floor to everyone. Again, you can say out loud, raise your hand, say out loud, or put it in the chat. Any open question that you have on AI in independent work. So I'll put my one here. Want to be respectful and copyright issue on others' work. Thank you, Ashley. I'm just gonna put all those questions here. Yep, a lot of copyright and yep, who's the owner of the work? Yep, for sure, ownership, right? Copyright and ethic. Yep, for sure. So, you know, I feel like this area of copyright issue and ownership and credit, right? When can we tell employers to automate some part of our job? Okay, so talking about how to approach the option to improve our workload and not replacing us. What else? Feel free, you know, no questions are bad questions, obviously. We will group them as we have them. One question that I have in general as well is in you know, and this is a question that you'll see come up in some of the demo today, is the kind of the blurred line between being technical and the design work. it seems like designers are becoming more technical, or having to, as with the trend these days, but even more with AI starting to become a little bit more accessible to us to be able to write code with AI, to a lot of your point, we still have to check the work, but I feel like designers are becoming more technical, and so what is that role is going to turn out to be? Okay, I'm gonna just jot them all down here, and then we can do some grouping. Rate future of interfacing of AI. That is a huge question. Okay.
That and integration. I meant to put integration with that as well. Interfacing and integration.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna move this prompt over here so that it's easier to read. Okay. Anyone else want to just drop in? So these are the few that we have. We can group some of them together, I feel like, no? I feel like there's an area for kind of ethics or copyrights. So ownership, would you agree? Copyright issue, owner of work, credit. Legitimacy. Sorensa, can you say a little bit more about this question that you have?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I was just, my question is also like about like how can we prove that, like, when you're creating something new, because this is taken from all the data that already exists, like how new is that? And also thinking about education as well, like when it comes to people learning, like new students, the part of the creating human part of that, and how much is going to be produced by AI, and what does that mean actually, right? It's like a collection of everyone else's input before. So, all these questions about what's new, what's legitimate, and what is just kind of a copycat.
Yeah, for sure. So originality. Would you say that is more in the, yeah, I guess originality is its own thing. It's not a copyright issue. Bias, right? Heather has this note on bias is another stumbling block. Interface, and then can it use Malak? This note around, can it be used for English or non-English speaking consumer? Is that, would you say that that's part of the bias part, or is it, can you talk a little bit more about that?
I think it's more about the limitations of the tool, rather than bias, because it is in English, and I personally have not experimented with other languages, but I don't think it would have Arabic, for example, in it or something. So in that case, if my consumers for whatever thing I'm doing were non-English speakers, then like how can I still use the tool? Like I was thinking perhaps you use it in English and then like you Google Translate everything and do it that way. But I'm just wondering, I think it's more of like a what it can versus can't do.
Yeah, I think so too. So I've just moved it up here. Okay, everybody feeling good? Okay, so how do you feel about some of this breakdown? So the first one, it seems like it's going to be around, limitation. This font is a little crazy, isn't it? Let's see. Better. Sorry. Just the designer in me. Okay, so limitation, I guess abilities and limitation is this one. This is about workforce. Please, if I'm summarizing your idea and you're like, that is not it too, you should speak out. So this is about ethics and or regionality. Oh, originality. So talking about bias, and yeah, I think that was interface and technology. How do we feel about this? Anything that you think does not belong or should move around?
Maybe it would be interesting to kind of develop a little bit more, like in terms of the bias, which is quite a big part, right?
Yeah. What
And I
are,
think, you know,
please.
the other part, like it belongs to limitations, but it's so true. Like, and I haven't tried, and I should have tried just to see what happened with other languages. But it's the same when you first had like Siri and so on, and you couldn't really, you know, it still like says like, oh, my friends send my messages like in Portuguese, like it's in Portuguese, I cannot, you know, it's another language I can't read. So that's a very interesting part, because then already assumes that everybody is going to be, you know, and content already exists in so many languages. So that's an interesting part to think about as well. And even bias around, like, I don't know, gender and all of these things and how it reads the images.
Yeah. I'm just gonna jot down a few notes. So genders, languages, cultures, right? Megan had a great note around being factually correct. So it feels like it's bias and accuracy, because it reminds me of deep fake as well. And then, you know, even before this wave of generative AI, there's been a lot of questions raised around the accuracy or the factualness of things. So,
and there is a
bit
on that as well, just to build on that, because sometimes like questioning is, because I was saying like in terms of courses and things that I'm looking for, like to kind of go into another path professionally. And so it's so interesting to see like the answers it's coming up with, like on the ChatGPT, is like some things are old or they do not exist anymore. And it's a very interesting bet on this. And obviously like even older information won't exist because it wasn't bringing that into the machine learning. So yeah, that goes into the accuracy. Like, can you trust 100% of that? Like, who's speaking on that, right?
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else have anything to add before we do some voting?
I would say, honestly, that one thing that falls into bias and accuracy or ethics and originality is really the whole cross-cultural understanding of knowledge. And I see this specifically with I think especially with speakers of Maori, they're not willing to release their data to large tech companies at all, because they're like, we own this. This is our language. This is our cultural heritage. And they actually have an entire collective around collecting their own data, annotating their own language data, and managing it themselves. They're very protective of it. And a lot of cultures are. A lot of languages are. It's a very different conception than I think is typical in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I think that's great. How would you, I'm going to try to summarize that. So
different beliefs around cultural knowledge and ownership.
That's great. Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. It kind of transcends between these two. but I put it around ethics because at least for me, and please disagree if you think so. It starts with, this data or this knowledge is ours and we want to keep it, right? And kind of the respect for that. Yeah, so Heather had kind of a follow-up for ancestral lineage and open versus open source. Who do we learn how to use the tool from? Is that part of bias, Malak?
Not really sure. I think it's a bit more general, like just, for example, this is one of the sessions where like I'm learning from others collectively, like how they use the tool. But like what other sources are there? Trusted sources where you can go and learn, like, this is how you can use AI for XYZ.
Yeah. Did we lose something? I stopped to cough, and that's when I think this kind of get crazy. Oh God. Okay. What did I do? Ability, ethics. Then I just copy a bunch of things, right? So what I did. Yeah, hang on. Sorry. Changing bias. Okay, yeah, sorry. Here we go. Okay. Anything else? Cool. So listen, I think we have 14 of us here. It will be good to kind of go a little deeper into maybe two of this, break down into two groups if you're ever interested. So what I would love for us to do is that I've put in some voting pieces here. If you want to just take 2 votes per and put it next to those kind of buckets that you're most interested in, those are the topic that we can open up the breakout room for. Right, so let's do that very quickly in the next 3 minutes. Just take your 2, only use 2 and vote. Those are some big thumbs, I know, but oh, thank you for resizing. I got very excited with creating thumbs. All right, take your time. 2 more minutes. Okay, Ashley, I will put in your vote for ethics and bias. Sorry, you're having trouble. Okay, that's Ashley's vote. Okay, I think we are approaching a clear decision. I'm going to create some breakout room. Feel free to keep on voting. And then after this, breakout rooms, we will get into our demo very soon. So I think let's keep on going. Thank you all for participating. This was great. Okay, so it seems like we have ethics, originality, and bias and accuracy as the 2 topic for today. In future workshop, we'll open up for other topics. But the way that this will work is that I will open up 2 breakout rooms. You feel free to join either one of them. You can jump in between as you want as well. Let's do a 10 minutes discussion. And what you can do is use this board. Let's just create those two boards. The red one here is for ethics and originality. And then this gray board over here is for bias and accuracy. I'll clean it up so that you have some focus. And this board are just for you to take notes if you want to, or you can just talk among yourself. Don't have to take notes if you don't want to. And yeah, we will move back here in 10 minutes. Does that sound good? Cool. Okay, room opening up. Feel free to join. Set this for 10 minutes. Anybody have trouble joining a room, let me know. You can find the breakout room in the bottom of your tool, Zoom tool. Jana and Michael, feel free to join a room if you like. We'll do this for 9 more minutes, and then we'll get into our demo sessions.
I think I won't join a room just because I think I know too much. And it would be it would be a bad idea to join. I'd rather see other people's ideas.
Yeah, I got you. It seems like
I'm
everybody
just like,
who was in bias just jump into ethics. So
I know a couple of these people. So
yes,
Heather from Micah is here. One
I
of the
know.
people I know from NC State, she was in my design ethics course last fall.
Mhm.
And I actually did I did my ethics project on AI, so she's seen my thoughts on it. So
Okay, great. I'm gonna hang out with you.
yeah, I'm like, nobody needs to know my thoughts. I work in AI. I've worked in AI a long time. I'm like, no.
Actually, I'm gonna jump into that room because I think there's some recording, so it would be good for the attendants to kind of get a glimpse into what was discussed. But I will meet you back here in 7.5 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, actually, no, it would stop the screen sharing, so maybe I don't want to do that. Okay, I will stay put. Okay, just learning something new soon.
I mean, do you know, it was funny because there's a petition about this going around right now about the ownership. There's a woman in Montreal named Valentine Godard. She's a professor. I can't remember if it's at Columbia or the University of Montreal, but she does a lot of work in this space, especially with governance and with art and bias. She's very interesting. She does a lot of very cool work. I met her I met a lot of people during random Zoom sessions during the pandemic, and I know her from that. She's very cool. I like her. I like her work and her thoughtfulness. And and actually right now there's the big annual conference on it's basically a conference on AI ethics, and it's how it works in society called FACT. and there's a paper that looks very good. I have not had a chance to read it yet, on the societal implications of generative AI. But a lot of the authors, I've read previous work of theirs on, ecological impacts of AI, social impacts of AI bias. And it's always been very good. I mean, if anyone is interested, I can share those resources.
Yeah, I think we definitely should. It seems like this audience is very much interested in ethics and originality. And I love your point on the different beliefs around cultural knowledge and ownership. I think I haven't thought about that before. That not everybody's willing to, I mean, it sounds intuitive, but not everybody's willing to give up their heritage and their data and what makes them unique, right? So
yeah, I mean, so there's this, do you know who Sansa Costanza Shock is?
it sounds familiar.
She's one of the founders of the Design Justice organization.
No,
But
actually, no. Yeah.
there was this, deck, this sort of tarot oracle deck she and a couple collaborators put together, basically kind of thinking through design prompts and things like that. And I got it a few years ago, and one day I was just kind of like thinking out something that was really funny, and there are these 3 cards, and one is like data. One of them says data should be open, and the other says, protect our cultural heritage. And it's just this sort of these tensions about data and ownership and cultural knowledge. And I never put them back in the deck. I just taped them together and put them on my office door. Because I was like, always have this up as a reminder when you're working that this is so central. And I've seen this beyond just AI. I saw this, I went to a friend of mine organized an Indigenous queer art show here in Seattle a few months ago. And there was this great set of videos talking about their their community. They're Mapuche from Chile. And and I to talk to the artists, I told them how beautiful I found them. And they're like, a lot of people aren't comfortable with them because they're in Mapuche. There's a lot of very, oblique cultural references. And they're like, all that knowledge in there really isn't for everyone. It's really for our community.
Oh, I see.
And I was like, that doesn't matter to me. I'm like, that's fine. If it's not my knowledge, I don't need it. I can appreciate it for what I get out of it. But I thought about that.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Sorry, I interrupted you. Finish your thought.
No, I'm still half tired. I hope I don't totally make a muck of the presentation. It's very short. I didn't go into huge amounts of detail.
Yeah.
I will show part of the presentation or part of the video to give people a sense of what it looks like.
Yes, please do. And I'm gonna bring them back in 2 minutes. And
yeah, I couldn't get the project running last night. My main desktop that it runs off of just wouldn't. So some of my screenshots are just from the video and things. So, but the main project has a little bit more than the stuff that's in the video and in this spatial IO. But, because of runtime, because VR is such an expensive runtime. So, but I think the spatial IO gives you a lot of the experience. It just doesn't have the AI guide in it that Dano mostly developed. Which I really like. I wish I would have had like the frontal view of the AI avatar. I just don't have the front one. It's like very cute. They put the visuals together using Mixamo. So
yeah, that's no, but I think people will be excited to see an real application of it. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. I'm gonna tell everyone to come back in 1 minute so that we can learn a little bit more from their discussions, and then we can get into demo. And then I think let Michael demo the introduction to Midjourney first, and then I'll ask for your share screen. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I can gather resources if people are interested, but I don't have them all right in front of me. So if people want to leave their emails or something,
Please feel
can
free
send
to
them.
drop that in the chat when they come back. I think people would appreciate that if it doesn't take too much of your time.
It would take, 15 minutes. They're open in some tab or another on my computer.
Yeah.
I just, like I said, I haven't even gotten around to reading that paper by Sasha Luciane and Hal Daume. I can't remember. There's a lot of co-authors. Margaret Mitchell, who lost her job because she wrote at Google because of a paper she co-authored,
Yeah.
in this space. So it's good work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good work. It's important work
A
too.
lot of people are not wanting to talk too much about some of these things.
Yes. Yes. It's important things to discuss and put out in the open, right?
Yeah, at work, I definitely remember someone not wanting to talk about it. I mean, most people are. Amazon, or at least Alexa, strangely enough, is strangely a healthier work environment.
Remember, don't share anything crazy.
Oh no, I'm not sharing anything deeply. It's just,
Okay.
we were discussing in a symposium we recently had about, some of the benefits and drawbacks of LLMs, right? In particular, it's no secret Alexa is planning on employing LLMs. That was in the news. I'm not giving anything away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But these discussions are, I think in healthy organizations, they're going on. The discussion is encouraged.
Yes.
Which is a good thing, I would say, about Alexa versus like Google.
For sure. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. That was a little bit of a short session, I'm sure. Were people still talking when we closed the room? What did you learn? Anyone wants to kind of share a thing or two that they may find interesting from that discussion?
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about ethics and originality, and the how is originality defined, and is that the same or different than authenticity? And it sort of just opened up some interesting conversations, even around what AI might be generating. Originality is different depending on if it's piece of art or something that's more journalistic. So I don't know. I feel like without really knowing how to make sense of it too much, I think it makes me think that AI is this really big blanket term, but it sounds like it depends on how it's being used as a tool, which defines, what is original. I don't know. I just a lot to think chew on, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thanks, Jesse. I think that was Jesse. Yeah.
Yes.
Punet, you were about to talk as well.
Oh, I mean, basically, Jesse hit on most of the major points, so I don't really have much more to add there.
Yeah. There was a note around suggesting guardrails and rules to ensure content is presented honestly and authentically.
Yeah, that's I think a point that Jesse was also hitting upon there. Since a lot of news content, a lot of people question whether the news they're reading is actually written by a human, and what if it is written by a human, how trustworthy is it? And since more news organizations are at least getting their feet wet in AI generated news stories, mainly for basic things like stock price movements and sporting events. But as that sort of continues, you know, what obligations do news organizations, media companies, and creatives have to, you know, disclose or not disclose, or that something is AI generated, at least in part, you know, what does it mean from an ethics standpoint? I don't know, but that's kind of an idea that Jesse was more getting at. So maybe he can add a few additional points.
Yeah, no, thanks. I think I don't know what I was reading, but sort of talking about the Cold War and the invention of nuclear weapons, and the understanding that that could be really bad for humanity. So it forced people to come together and create really clear rules and guardrails around how this is going to be used, and people had to follow those rules. So it sounds like we've rushed into making AI open source, which is both exciting and scary. And I'm seeing a lot more media around AI leaders realizing that there needs to be a coming together. And I think how that happens is a bigger question, but I think my fear comes around like it's open source and it's already being utilized in really real ways that could have a real impact. We've seen this with social media already because there weren't clear guardrails, because I guess wasn't clear understanding of the impact it has. However, we're finding there has been research, but leaders have focused more on profit and growth over, you know, ethics. So I guess it really comes more around the ethics part of the conversation, and I think that will feed into how we even define something as original versus AI generated. You know.
And thank you, Jesse. And I'm gonna, I think, kind of bleed into the bias part too. I was reading that AI, some models are training on their generated content, their own self-generated content. So kind of deeping even deeper into this bias that could be there. So imagine if AI already has some inherent bias and now is training on its own data, the bias just get deeper and deeper as the fear there. So I think when we think about guiding rail for originality, there might be some real consequences there when it comes to the impact that it will have on society, right? So but that is something that Jen and I were just talking about, you know, this kind of conversations in a healthy organization is much needed, and I'm glad that we're talking about it here. So I will pause really quick on this open space portion. Thank you all for participating. I would love to maybe now move into the demo part, because I know we're all excited to learn more about Midjourney and some of the use case that Jana and her team, Michael, Jana and her team have been using Midjourney for. So Michael, if you're on, I'm gonna give you the share screen power. Yeah, let me know if you get it.
Let me see. Yep. All right. So everyone's familiar with Midjourney, or at least has heard about Midjourney. Is a very popular AI text to image generator. It was it kind of made his prime time last year around, I think, summer 2022. And like we discussed before, I mean, these things are moving incredibly fast. So we are in Model 5, Midjourney 5, which is a huge improvement from the previous model, and really gives you a lot of that hyper realistic photographic look to your images. One thing that I wanted to discussed before I show you the demo is that as these versions come out, there's new parameters and there's new ways that you could use your prompts. So a lot of people have expressed that the prompts that they used to use in version 4 don't work as well in version 5. Luckily, you can switch between models, just like ChatGPT, right? I think it was ChatGPT 3 and ChatGPT 4. You can actually choose which one you want to utilize for your content. So in terms of what the tool does and what is being used for in the freelance field, I personally don't know anyone that is using Midjourney, let's say, for client work. A lot of the people that I know are using it for for their own products that they sell online. They use it to create patterns. They doing merchandise, t-shirts, hats, and things of that sort. I do know people that use it for brainstorming. So if they have an idea for a concept or a specific thing that they want to do with video or with photograph, they kind of use Midjourney to get an idea or to get some sort of concept to start with. I know people that have used it to create like NFT collections. I know people that use it to create art. They have, they kind of label themselves as AR artists. That's kind of like a new field now. These are people that generate art with exclusively with AI tools. One thing about Midjourney is that you should understand is that it produces flat images. So what you get in return is a JPEG. Now, that alone might not be sufficient for someone who is an actual, digital artist, because there's probably a lot that you still want to do to that image, and you feel more comfortable doing in your tools of preference, like Photoshop, for example. So I will say that that's one of the limitations, is that you're kind of locked to that image. I mean, you can still work the prompt, you can still generate more, but you still have to, work in the confines of what Midjourney can do for you. I know people that have taken Midjourney images and taken them back to Photoshop and generated more and kind of created compositions in Photoshop. But as we know, Adobe has a new tool called which is I think it's called Adobe Firefly, and if the new Adobe Beta actually has AI text to image generation in the Adobe Photoshop tool, which actually gives you layers, so you have more flexibility. I think that's more powerful, in my opinion. I think Midjourney is incredibly impressive for what it can do, but still is very limiting on what the model can actually produce, right? But what we're going to see definitely is more integration of tools. These models are going to become more readily available. There's tons of models out there. So I think that that's where this kind of field is going. In terms of how to use Midjourney, I think one of the things that made Midjourney so popular was that it uses Discord. And Discord is a chat voice server where people can create their own kind of chat channels and bring people in from different from different places, and it's very popular amongst gamers. So I think that's kind of really gave Midjourney that kind of head start. It was that it was already kind of incorporated into that tool. Now, I always ask myself, why would they use Discord? Why didn't they come up with their own kind of interface, just like ChatGPT? And it turns out that it was just easier because Discord is basically the operating system for Midjourney. Allows you to do the settings and the prompts and upload pictures and save things. So it was just very convenient for them to really incorporate Discord with Midjourney, just kind of make that connection. Now, Discord can have a little bit of a learning curve. It's not something that everyone uses. So I personally never use Discord. So I had to get kind of used to using Discord in order for me to use Midjourney. Now, another thing that we can talk about is what you can and cannot do with Midjourney. We know that it's not very good with letters. So you can't, let's say, produce an ad with Midjourney. Midjourney is good for images. It's an image generator. So you can go and say, okay, let's say if you have a social media campaign and then you go, okay, I need an ad that says this in this style of letters, and I want a person wearing headphones and in a beach. It's not going to be able to produce that ad for you because Midjourney is not very good with letters. The other thing that is hard for these models to do is hands. Hands usually are very difficult, even for artists, even for people that draw and paint. Hands are probably one of the hardest things that you could do in with art, right? So sometimes the hands are, that's one of the first things that you will notice in a lot of these image generators. Is the hands are always kind of freaky. Also, you cannot do any type of gore. You cannot do any type of, obviously pornography or any type of content that is considered, not, um, uh, pornographic or gore. And that can be a problem sometimes because if you don't know how to phrase your prompt correctly, like I was trying to do like an evil a child with an evil smile, and I couldn't get it to go through. So sometimes the algorithm might just flag certain things in your prompt, and you might notice that your prompts are not getting that are getting ignored basically, and it might be because of a lot of those safeguards around the model. What else regarding Midjourney? One of the things that people do when they first start these tools, when they first start using these tools, is very simple prompts. Panda wearing sunglasses in a beach. And they just kind of do that and they go, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so cool. But the tool has been trained for many years in a lot of styles and a lot of image styles, artistic trends. So having a good vocabulary, having a good filmmaking vocabulary, if you know what a medium shot is, for example, a close up, if you know your directors, for example, in the style of Stanley Kubrick, in the style of David Lynch, things like that help a lot with your vision, what you have. But you will still need to have that knowledge of filmmaking. Same thing as photography, right? You could use in your prompt, you could use a close up of a woman, drinking wine with a Nikon D85, right? So you can actually specify the type of camera, and that will give you the style and the that you want. You could also, we all artists a certain extent. You can also use your own artistic references like Art Deco, Picasso, Matisse, Expressionism, realism, surrealism. All of those things are valid prompts that the model can actually understand. Also, the medium, right? You can specify graffiti, canvas, a watercolor, Japanese block print. All of those things are also part of a good prompt. But on top of the prompts is the parameters, right? So that is the prompt. That's what you can use to describe your image. And then on top of that, you can also start using parameters. Parameters are specified with 2 dashes. So dash dash, anytime that you see that in a prompt, that means that is a parameter. And parameters can help you with things like aspect ratio. It can help you with things with resolution. It can help you with things like the type of style, the model, if you want to use version 4, version 5. It can help you with something called chaos level, and that's how random that image is going to turn out. It can help you with things like style. You can also tell Midjourney how style your image is. Those are usually called weight parameters. So you can specify a number between 0 and 1,000. So there's tons and tons of parameters that you can use, but I would say the most basic ones would be aspect ratio, and also the style, and also tile. So you can actually create tiles in Midjourney, and the styles are continuous, right? So if you kind of put them all next to each other, they will produce a continuous pattern. So I've seen a lot of people create patterns with Midjourney, and they kind of put those on T-shirts, put those on different products. In terms of quoting specific artists, right? Like we all know the first things that come to mind, and things like Picasso, Matisse, but you can also quote modern, contemporary artists, artists that are actually alive, and then that's when we get into the discussion of ethics and respecting people's work and being able to give credit. So that's where AI turns into a big discussion of what is fair at some times, right? Is it fair for me to go to these tools and start generating art based on the intellectual property of an artist who is actually making a living out of his own style, right?
Michael, just
no one really knows. Yeah.
Just want to check. You're not sharing anything on screen, right?
No, not right now.
Okay.
Not right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and we might have a few more minutes until we can jump into Jenna.
Okay, good. So just wanted to show something that I did. I don't want to start generating the prompts because sometimes they take a little longer, so that's going to consume a lot of the time. So let me share my screen here, and I can show you a little bit of how I started working the prompt. One of the hardest things that you could do with this AI generator, image generators, is to keep the continuity. So it's very hard to do, let's say, like character design with these things. You can come up with the character first, but it's very hard to then continue using the same character in, let's say, different poses, different scenarios. Because remember, the algorithm is kind of random. So there's some techniques that you can follow to kind of circumvent that problem. But I would say that's probably one of the things that these AI generators should do better, is they should allow you to, let's say, save your concept and then keep working it. Every time that you start, it's almost like you're starting from scratch. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, so here's an image that I started generating. The prompt was cinematic shock, supernatural horror, boy with evil look in his eyes, sitting in a staircase in a typical American home, atmospheric lighting, aspect ratio of 2:1. And this is kind of, this is what version 5 generated. Version 5 is very photographic. It's very realistic. Okay, so then out of these, then I started, you can select one. You can create different variations of that one, or you could upscale it. Upscale it is when you want the full resolution image back. So here I use the seed parameter, which I think is one of the most important things that you should learn in Midjourney. The seed is basically the very first generated image, which is really not an image. It's just like noise. It's just like when you turn on your TV and there's no channel. Well, you can't really do that anymore, but it's just all that noise that you see on the screen. That's the very first thing that it gets generated, and it's from there that you start generating the full resolution image. So if you start from the very same one, you might have better chances of keeping the consistency. So here I was able to generate more images with a slight variation. What I was trying to get was the evil smile, which it didn't work too well in my prompts. Here, and then I started specifying other things. As you can see, they're very similar, but there's very slight differences between them. Here I upscaled version 2, and I created variation of version 3. Then I ended up with this one, which I kept working on it. And then I started adding a little bit more of a look to the boy, right? So then I started specifying ethnicity. So then I said I wanted a Hispanic boy and I tried to work the evil smile, but it didn't work too well. So this is where you can start seeing, you see the same kind of scene, same kind of image, but now the boy is the one that is changing. Then from here, I picked the fourth one, and then I started working that one. So you notice, see, I'm trying to get that kind of Omen look. If you remember the movie The Omen, I was trying to recreate that, but and the stairs remind me of the Exorcist. So that's kind of what I had in mind. So I actually had to research that director and research a little bit about that movie so I could put those things in my prompt. So it's a lot of fun. It's definitely super cool. But if you have a very specific thing in mind, you have to really, really, really get good at these prompts, and you really need to know your vocabulary, your art vocabulary, your filmmaking vocabulary. That helps a lot. What you're seeing here is my own Discord server. So one of the things that is a little confusing for people is the very first time they use Midjourney, you kind of join this public server. And in here, people that have a free account and people that have also a paid account can come in here and start generating images. And as you can see, everyone can see them. So this is public. This is available to anyone. One of the things you should know is in the Midjourney terms of service, if you are using a public account, they basically own these images. If you want to use the paid account, then you can, have a little bit more of claim to the things that you're generating, but it's still a little bit kind of not clear to what extent this is your art, correct? One of the things that you can also not do, or is a little hard to do, there's some tricks, is to specify, let's say, a person or like a celebrity, let's say, like, Tom Cruise, cleaning the bathroom or something like that. It's usually not very good. There's some ways that I've seen like YouTube videos where people have different techniques where they can get very similar. But usually there is some safeguarding around people's images. So what I recommend you to do is, if you want to try it out, you can start with a free account. You can go to choose Google Midjourney, and that's going to take you to the Midjourney website. You're going to have to create a Discord server, a Discord account as well, and then you can start generating images in one of the newbie channels. If you want to pay, there's monthly subscriptions and there is yearly subscriptions. And what that allows you to do is to, have better tools at your disposal, use the latest models. And I believe that one of the things you can also do is you can then bring the Midjourney bot to your own server, because sometimes it can be really hard for people to find the images, because there's like thousands of people generating images right now in these channels. So the easiest thing for you to do is, if you go here, you create your own server, then you can invite the Midjourney bot to your server, and this is you. This is your server. You can invite people to it as well, but it's just easier. If I wanted to, let's say, save one of these images, you could then send it to the Midjourney website. I think here you can actually send this to, okay, here, this button right here, and this will take you to the Midjourney website, which is where you can actually save your stuff, right? So in here, for example, if I go to home, these are some of the other images that I've been generating. So it's just a way of organizing your images better. And lastly, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, make your last point, and then if people have more questions, can they put it in the chat for you?
Sure.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, and lastly, you can also upload images. So you can upload your own images and then put prompts on top of that image and then generate things using that image as a reference, which is really powerful. All right, well, that's it for me. Thank you so much for the opportunity. This has definitely been a lot of fun for me. Still trying to figure out a way that I can use this in some sort of like serious project, but right now it's all being kind of an experimental thing that I'm doing.
Fascinating. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Punet has a question for you in chat. Now we will move into Jana's and the project that she was doing with Sunlink. Jana, I will send the sharing screen for you. Thank you, Michael, for that fascinating demo.
Okay. Let's see. So I'm going to try and go through this a little quickly since I think people have to move on, but I'm going to share the video of this project before I talk about it, just to give people a sense of what it's like. I'll also give the disclaimer that anything I say in this is my own opinion and not the opinion of anyone I work for, just to clarify that. So I'll go ahead and do this just to give you a sense of what we're working on.
In a world facing climate change, Sunlink emerges as a beacon of hope, inspiring action and fostering awareness. Discover the potential of microorganisms that convert organic waste into electricity and their seamless integration with greenhouses. Immerse yourself in the captivating environment, harnessing microbial fuel cells, where organic waste from a river is transformed into valuable resources. Electricity is generated by the microbial fuel cells, which power the greenhouse's systems while providing purified water and nutrients that are returned to nurture the plants, creating a highly efficient closed-loop system that promotes a cleaner, greener future. Leveraging virtual reality, Sunlink strives to create a lasting impact on communities and industries, igniting positive change to inspire, educate, and motivate future generations to think about systems that work with and protect our planet. Sunlink invites you to step into a virtual world of possibilities, joining us on this transformative journey towards a greener, more resilient, and sustainable tomorrow. Together, we can make a difference, one virtual step at a time. Join Sunlink and take the first step in creating a brighter future for generations to come.
Okay, so I will stop the share and then share my actual presentation, which is... I also apologize because I am not a morning person.
This is the world that I built for my
God?
friend Shy Boy. Is inspired by a piece of her art that I loved, that she graciously sent to me. Thank you.
Oh, I still
Just
have
love
that
it so
tab
much.
open. That's why it's still talking. Sorry. Let me get this up so I can share my presentation. And like I said, my apologies for not being a morning person ever. All right. So I will give some background and talk about how we used AI and where it worked and didn't work really well in our work. Let's see. Let's go back over here. And why isn't it working now? There we go. All right, so a bit of background. This, I worked with a group called Empress VR that was founded by a friend of mine. I was an AI designer, as a designer and a climate strategist related to some of my work for my dissertation. And it was put together as a entry to a climate challenge in XR. Before I get into it, I didn't do any of the visuals for this. This was other people. This was the big part of the team that was working on it. You should check them out. They're great. So our challenge was to create a VR environment illustrating our idea of demonstrating the potential for using microbial processes to generate electricity and clean water and creating a circular and sustainable community and trying to demonstrate that in VR. This is one of the sketches that I did early on. So where did we use AI and not use AI? So we used AI heavily working on our proposal process. And sometimes it worked well, sometimes it didn't. This is where it didn't work well. So Dane wanted to use ChatGPT to do our text for the proposal video. And I put here like child doing fake writing image, which is honestly what ChatGPT came up with. It was a bunch of sort of drivel. I mean, it really did sound like random climate change, good sounding things that really had no deep meaning, nothing coherent. And so I was like, no, we're not going to do that. I wrote it myself. I'm a pretty decent writer. And I was like, no, we're going to do this the right way. Because, I mean, this was the entry. We wouldn't have even had the chance to be in the contest if we hadn't gotten past the proposal video. So ChatGPT can be fun, but I think one of the prompts was like, what can AI do and not do? In any organization or anything, you still need a good writer for the impact and the professional communication. ChatGPT has a lot of good applications. Writing proposals is not one of them, okay? So this is where we use Midjourney. And we used it a lot for the proposal video because we didn't have any assets or any visuals. We needed to get it done quickly. I can write quickly, but putting together a bunch of visuals for a proposal video was just not going to happen. So Dane used it for our proposal video, which I can't find off the top of my head. It's somewhere buried in our Discord channel. So he used a bunch of prompts based on my proposal video for Midjourney. And those are what we used in our proposal video. And we ended up carrying some of those over a little bit. These were more visuals he generated when we were thinking about how it should look. A lot of these are based more on, we were thinking about a future city. We actually ended up going more for a woodland setting in the final video, but there were additional prompts that we thought about. We didn't use them to develop, all right, I'm gonna say not we, because I didn't do most of the visual work. I did the ideas, but not the implementation. Dane and Tamu and the rest of the team used Midjourney to inspire the assets, but the actual digital assets, they all develop themselves. So for us, Midjourney was a tool for inspiration, but it wasn't really the final artistic product at all. It was a path on the journey, and it worked very well for that. Unlike ChatGPT, Midjourney was a very successful use for us in this case. The third part of AI, which is more direct, is Dane wanted to use an AI character. Heather's in here and she knows my background with AI characters. But there's this really great application called In-World AI for developing VR characters. And it changed. Like originally we wanted a scientist, and when we played with that, we were like, no, we wanted someone. I couldn't get into my VR this morning to actually get a nice shot at the front character. It's very cute. It's named Mia, like my daughter. But using this is, a really good thing to do in a VR application if you're doing something sort of lightweight. When we talked about bias and hallucinations, this is one aspect where it can definitely come back to bite you. You don't want to create some AI character that's going to make something up. You want to have some control over what it's doing. There's some limitations because you can't just ask this character any random question, but you can ask it questions related to this science, this environment, and ecology in general. It has a limited set of things it can talk about, but it can talk about those things well, which is what it's supposed to do. I wanted to keep this pretty short, so that's basically it. Here's our final video. You can explore it on Spatial.io. Check out Impress. And there's some stuff in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Jana. And sorry to rush you through I was gonna say that I'm gonna keep the link open for a few minutes if anybody have questions for Jenna. I don't know, Jenna, do you have some time to answer some questions?
I have a few minutes. I mean, technically started my workday, but it's flexible. I don't have a meeting at 9.
I appreciate that. Anyone have questions for Jenna?
No questions, but I like the whole development and the steps that your team went through in order to get to the final product. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I just, it was an actual, like, this is where we used it and where it was successful and wasn't successful. I think ChatGPT has good applications, like I said, but this isn't one of them.
Puneet is asking, is this the sort of thing that can be integrated into an AR application?
I think it would be different how I would use it in an AR application. I think the thing with AR instead is it would definitely help you get, as humans, we can navigate our way through the world and imagine it. But actually sketching up these entire potential environments might be kind of time consuming. I think one thing Midjourney might be good for thinking about AR is, you have an AR application of some kind and it might be used in these different kinds of spaces. I think using it for prompts to sort of imagine spaces, maybe things that you wouldn't think about, would be really helpful. Think about, curvature or height or the types of things that might be in an environment, I think is where it could be really helpful with AR.
That kind of goes back to the studios that I showed you to, Block 8 Labs and building worlds with AI. It's worth
Yeah, if you want to drop
look.
that in the chat, Michelle,
Yeah.
that would be interesting.
I was also going to say, related back to the initial prompts and things, I know a bunch of resources if people are interested in these questions about bias and ethics, especially with art and societal implications. I have some resources I can share if people want to throw their emails in.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I would definitely be up for it. Blockage Labs. Yeah, Michelle just sent over a link as well. Well, I know I've kept you a little bit longer than asked for. Ashley is asking Jenna if you can please do share. If you want to drop in your email or message Sana directly, that would be great. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining the session. We'd love to do this again to learn from all of you and find application and processes that the speakers have help us to understand. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Jenna, for sharing your work and guiding us through. Very appreciative of your time. Yeah, hope everybody has a good rest of your day. Please reach out to me if you have any questions, suggestions for future workshops. But otherwise, yeah, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I love sharing the discussions.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Heather. All right, see you all very soon. Jenna, thank you so much. Have a great day, okay?